Good evening, Optimal Spine Chiropractic family. This is Dr. Jen Kordonsky from Optimal Spine Chiropractic in Aberdeen, Maryland. Tonight's class is Sleep Matters, and a great night's sleep is so important. And it's one of those things that when you don't get a great night's sleep, that's when you truly miss it. But I'm going to be teaching you about how essential sleep is and how to get truly great sleep, because truly great sleep improves your health, increases your productivity, improves your mood, is anti-aging. There's so many benefits to it. And we want you to be optimally healthy, expressing your best potential, and a great night's sleep is an essential part of that. The value of a great night's sleep, as I said, is often underestimated until you don't get one. But most resources say that the vast majority of people are not getting the quality or the quantity of sleep that they truly need. And even less than optimal sleep carries risks. And even a little bit less than you should be getting, or a little less quality than you should, over time has a cumulative toll on your body. So I want you to understand a little bit about some of the risks associated with not getting a great night's sleep or not getting enough sleep. I want you to think about, have you ever experienced being in the presence of an overtired toddler? If you have, and you've witnessed a meltdown, you know exactly what I'm talking about. An overtired toddler is, throwing themselves on the floor, screaming and crying about nothing or something that shouldn't have upset them. What happens is a tired brain is a stressed brain. And a stressed brain, as we talk about in some of our stress classes, goes more into its primitive survival mode. It's reflexive, it's emotional, it's impulsive, and a stressed brain is not the higher brain functioning that we'd really ideally like to be in. So, even though you, hopefully, have learned not to throw yourself on the floor and have a meltdown, when you're tired, then your brain is more likely to be in those more primitive reflexive functions rather than those higher functions. You are not your best, you are not your brightest, you are not your most creative or patient when you're tired, obviously. There was a study that was published in the American Academy of Sleep Medicine journal, and they looked at college students, and they found that their sleep correlated to their grades. And less quality sleep, lower grades, higher rates of dropouts in those college students. The journal Lancet looked at doctors, and they found that doctors or physicians who had less than optimal sleep the next day took 14% longer to complete a procedure or a task and made 20% more errors. So if I had to have a medical procedure, I would hope that my doctor wasn't up late last night watching, every show on Netflix, right? It makes a difference. And I want you to think about it the next time you think, I'll just stay up late to get this work done. Are you going to be as productive, as efficient? Are you going to make more errors because you're tired? When you sleep, your brain actually takes information that you've been exposed to through the day, makes connections, sorts it out, builds memories. Your intelligence is going to depend upon a good quality night's sleep. Your ability to recall information depends upon that. And there's a system in your body called the glymphatics. They're the lymphatic glands or the lymphatic system for your brain specifically. And just to show you that we don't know everything there is to know about the human body, and we are continually improving upon our knowledge of it, the glymphatics weren't even known about until something in the last 15 years or so, or less. So those glymphatics actually clean up and pull out and get rid of waste products from the brain. And it only does it at maximum capacity at night while you're sleeping because you're not using the brain so much. So if we never have a chance to really clean up the messes, clean up the waste products, clean up the toxins that are within the brain, there's a risk of them accumulating. And to me, that makes me concerned about the increased risk of Alzheimer's or dementia if we're just allowing waste to accumulate in the brain. Sleep is anabolic, which is the opposite of catabolic. So all of your activities through the day are catabolic. Even if you're not doing much, your body is working, your heart is pumping, you're digesting, you're metabolizing, things are happening in your body. So you're breaking things down, you're using things up, you're wearing things down. That's catabolic. Now sleep is when you rebuild, repair, restock. That's anabolic. So think about it like this. It's like anabolic is depositing money into the bank and catabolic is taking money out of the bank. Well, if we have more catabolic, more withdrawals than we have deposits, we're going to have a problem eventually, right? And this is what will lead to premature aging if we're breaking things down more than we are building them back up. One night of less than optimal sleep messes with your hormone levels and your metabolism. The next day, it's measured in an individual who has less than optimal sleep, just one night, just a little, one rough night. The next day, your hormones ghrelin and leptin are out of whack. You'll have higher ghrelin levels, lower leptin levels, so you're less likely to burn fat for fuel. You're more likely to be craving carbs and sweets and things that are less nutritious. So that can have an impact and a toll on your body. And there was some interesting information where they looked at individuals who were jet lagged, right? So they crossed time zones and they're jet lagged. And they found that those jet lagged individuals had changes in their microbiome. Those are the friendly bacteria that are within you. And their microbiome changed to be more identical to those individuals who were obese or had diabetes or both. So their microbiome of a healthy individual changed to be more like that of an unhealthy individual. And it went back after they got back reacclimated to their normal sleep cycle. They also found that those jet-lagged individuals were just as insulin resistant as a type 2 diabetic. So you can see how the risk to your health can be cumulative over time, even if we're not having a horrible night, but just less than it should be. Yeah, we're getting by, but we want you to be your best. The last study I'll share with you was done on over 98,000 people, and they studied these individuals over the course of 14 years. So that's a nice long-term study. And they found that individuals who did not sleep optimally had double the risk of heart disease. So I can't stress how important this is, and you should be chomping at the bit for the information that we're going to share with you to not only help you to sleep well, but to sleep really well and to use it as a tool and a strategy to build your health. The trouble is, our culture that we live in, that we share, doesn't really promote great sleep. We have a culture that undervalues sleep. There's a tendency to think, that sleep is for the weak. I'm a champion because I only need 4 hours of sleep, or I can, work through the night. I could get up really early. I get it all done. Kind of, there's that mentality that we have to think about and recognize in our culture. And with technology, obviously, just having electricity in our homes, but now not just having electric lights in our homes, but we have all sorts of devices and streaming entertainment. There was a time, before my time, but there was a time when at the end of the day, the TV went off. There were no more shows at night. It was just a blank screen. Now we have Netflix and all the other things that go with it. And one show ends and the next one starts before you even have time to get the remote. So our culture doesn't really even promote good, healthy sleep. And the research shows that we actually sleep on average 2 hours less today than our ancestors did just 100 years ago. I'd be interested to see that, with technology, how that might be continuing to drop. So 2 hours is a lot of sleep. And here's the thing. Some people think, well, I get plenty of sleep. I just, I stay up late to watch my shows, or I stay up late because, the kids go to bed and that's my time. Well, unfortunately, there's a magic window of sleep. And the research shows that between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., that's when we get the most regenerative sleep. The best sleep for our bodies happens between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And you might think, well, I'm not tired at that time. Here's the trouble. What happens is you might be tired at the end of a work day. You might be mentally exhausted and just feeling like, oh, I can't wait to go to sleep. But then something happens, right? And you get a second wind. Dr. Mark used to tell me that there was this sleep window that he had. I didn't believe him. But the truth is, there is a window. And what happens is sometime around 10 p.m. or slightly thereafter, you get a metabolic surge. And that's meant to be internal energy for the cellular repair, the healing, all the stuff that's supposed to happen while you sleep. But if you're awake, your body interprets that signal as, oh, I got a second wind. I can watch another show. I can scroll through Facebook for a little bit longer. And it tricks you into thinking you're not tired. And hopefully my in-laws are listening because I think you're staying up too late. But I do want to get to the 6 things that we need to address, because there's people who know the value of sleep and they really want to get a great night's sleep, but they're not getting it. They're not able. And the information shows that some 60% or more of Americans report having difficulty sleeping at least every other night. And our typical solution in our culture is like, well, I'll just take something, get a better night's sleep tonight. I'll take this pill. The trouble with that is that obviously, quick fixes are really rarely ever the best fix. And it's been shown that as little as 1 sleeping pill 20 times a year, so 20 bad nights where you had to take a sleeping pill, is correlated to an increase in mortality. So it's not great sleep that is being replaced by the pill. So there are things, ingredients for good sleep that have to be there. And just like if we were baking a cake, if we're missing a couple of the main ingredients, say your recipe calls for flour, butter, sugar, eggs, the basics, and you leave out the eggs and the sugar, well, when it comes out of the oven, it's not a cake, right? It's something else, but it's not a cake. You're missing basic ingredients. So should we try to encourage that cake to be, or that mess to be more like a cake? Should we give it a pill that makes it more cake-like? No, we're missing basic ingredients. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. There's 6 things that we need to address. So grab your pens, because number 1 is time. We need to go to bed at an ideal time. We need to maximize the number of hours of sleep we can get in that 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. window. And we need to ideally strive for 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And everyone's body is different. And you have to listen to your body. But until you really know what's ideal, you might want to just work backwards. From what time do I have to get up in the morning? Go back, give myself 7 to 9 hours, and set a bedtime. Because if we don't have a time set in our head, then it's really easy to get off course and to watch that next show or what have you. So we need to set aside the time, make sleep a priority, strive for 7 to 9 hours, and strive for getting as many of those hours from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. as possible. Number 2 is we need exposure to light and dark. Believe it or not, the human body evolved with light and dark cycles, right? Every single day there's lightness and darkness, and we respond to that. Unfortunately, with being stuck indoors, working in an office building, or being stuck in your home, we don't get as much light exposure. We're outside less during the day. And then we have the ability to turn on the lights when it gets dark so that we can keep doing what we're doing. And so we've totally shifted our exposure to light and dark, and that takes a toll. When you are exposed to light during the day, it boosts up your serotonin, it makes you feel better, but it also gives you a little surge of cortisol and kind of perks your body up. But it's okay, that cortisol breaks down and then contributes to helping you get a better night's sleep. Now, when we're exposed to darkness, your body makes melatonin, which you've probably seen being sold on the shelf as a sleep aid, a natural sleep aid. Well, your body makes melatonin, but it needs to be exposed to darkness to do it. So, ideally, you're going to get outside, or at least expose yourself to natural light early in the day and as often as you can through the day. Take breaks, get outside, leave the sunglasses in, unless you're going to be out for long periods of time. Through your eye is where you're going to absorb a lot of the sunlight, and that's going to stimulate your brain to make the right neurochemistry so that you have a great night's sleep later on that day. And then later in the evening, as the sun is starting to go down, you want to start turning out lights in your environment, not flipping them all on so that you can stay up late. You need to expose your body to some natural darkness. So ideally, we're going to 3 hours before bed, dim the lights in your house. At least 30 minutes before bed, turn off the screens. So much light enters your eye from your tablet or your television that it's very stimulating and it will inhibit your melatonin production. So in an ideal world, the last 30 minutes before that bedtime that you set for yourself, we'd have all the screens turned off. Truthfully, I find that really hard to do myself, so I know. But there are apps, there are f.lux is something that you can check out. You can dim the settings on your phone, dim the settings on your computer so that there's less light coming at you. There's also blue light blocking glasses that you can use. And speaking of light, you need to check your bedroom for light leaks. So the darker it is when you're sleeping, the deeper you'll be able to sleep, the better your sleep will be. And you'd be surprised at how much light there can be leaking into your bedroom. One thing that was interesting to read was that in a sleep study, they put a little light sensor behind the knee and taped over it. So there was no visible light to the eye, but that little bit of light on the skin behind the back of a person's knee could interrupt their sleep cycles. So even the light from your alarm clock, light peeking in through the window shade, as many of those leaks as you can fill in, the better. I like to use a nice sleep mask and just keep out as much of the light as possible. So, number 3 is exercise. I know you're surprised to hear me mention that exercise has some health benefits, but exercise contains or gives you metabolic benefits, physiologic benefits, emotional benefits that money just can't buy. And we have to tap into those benefits, even if it's in little bits. And especially when it comes to getting a great night's sleep, a little bit of movement through the day can really contribute. As I said before, you might come home from work just mentally exhausted and so tired. But if you haven't physically exhausted yourself, there's still that energy in the tank. And even though you feel tired, your body might not settle down as well as it could. Ideally, exercise earlier in the day. That will have an impact on your sleep that night. Exercise can be something that's stimulating. So if you exercise too late in the day, you may find that it inhibits your sleep. Some people find the opposite and they get a great workout before dinner or after dinner, and then that helps them to sleep really well. Listen to your body, let it be your guide. But some movement through the day, in technical terms, ideally earlier. So, number 4 is stress management. I always say to people, have you ever felt like your bed is this magical place where when you lay down, you can suddenly remember everything there is on your to-do list, everything that you need to worry about, all the things that need your attention tomorrow or next week? It happens to all of us. And the best way to handle that is to have taken care of it earlier in the day, right? We cover several strategies in the stress classes. So if you look at Don't Worry, Be Happy, or Fuel Your Brain, we touch on it in there a bit, but there's a lot of strategies that you could use earlier in the day to help set aside some of that stress, that mental anxiety, and contribute to a better night's sleep. The one thing that I will mention here is that meditation is an incredible tool. Even just a few minutes of meditation done consistently over a few weeks' time makes changes in the brain. It makes it easier for you to just let things go and relax and get a good night's sleep. Number 5 on the list. Oh, before I go away from stress, I have to throw in there that chiropractic is an amazing tool for managing stress. Adjustments change the way you adapt to the environment physically and mentally. Adjustments lower cortisol levels. So it's definitely an important tool in the toolbox of stress management. Now we can move along to number 5, which is nutrition. Nutrition plays a huge role in how your body functions. There are several key nutrients that will affect your sleep. In general, let's just say that the better you eat, the more nutritiously you eat, the healthier you're going to be, obviously, and the better sleep that you will get. One nutrient that I would like to point out in particular is magnesium. Magnesium is used in so many different functions in your body. It is your anti-stress mineral. It is a muscle relaxer. It's important for protection, prevention of heart disease. And it's possible that you're just not getting enough magnesium in your diet. There are foods that are high in magnesium. I urge you to look them up. But we should all be getting around 300 to 400 milligrams of magnesium into our day. And one of the things that could be a useful tool is supplementing with magnesium at dinner time or after dinner, so you can take advantage of its relaxing effects. Please check out the website ods.od.nih.gov if you have concerns about whether or not you should take magnesium, contraindications, things like that. What you eat is important, but when you eat is also important. And if you eat too close to bed, my grandma always told me I was going to have nightmares, and that's why I couldn't have a snack before bed, but I don't think that's true. What is true is that when you eat closer to bed or too close to bedtime, then your metabolic activity is up and you're busy working on digesting that food. When you really want to be through the major part of digestion and now into absorption, assimilation, using those nutrients to repair your body. So ideally we have at least 2 hours between our last meal or snack and bedtime. Some people will say, but I'm really hungry at the end of the day. That just might mean you didn't eat enough earlier in the day. And so you should experiment with that and try increasing the amount of food that you eat earlier so that you're not hungry at the end of the night. Now, I don't want you to go to bed starving, so if you are hungry, the other factor is blood sugar. And what happens when we eat something is that our blood sugar raises and then it drops back down. Now, if we've eaten something nutritious, we should get a slower raise and a slower drop. If we eat something that's not so nutritious, like candy, we get a spike in blood sugar and then a quick drop. Either way, no matter what we've eaten, when the blood sugar goes down, that could be a signal to your body to perk up, wake up, and look for more food. So even if you are eating something healthy before dinner, before bed, as your blood sugar comes back down, that might wake you up. But if you are starving and you've tried eating, earlier in the day, like I said, I don't want you to go to bed hungry. Try to make it a more nutritious snack with more fat, fiber, and protein in it than sugar. Because that will give us the slower raise and slower drop in blood sugar. It won't be as jarring to your body. The last thing we need to talk about is the sleep disruptors. So, obviously caffeine. We consume it because it makes us more alert. It wakes us up. So, the obvious thing would be to say, well, we can't have caffeine before bedtime. We're not going to have a great night's sleep. It's possible that you might be having caffeine not before bedtime, but just too late in the day that it's affecting your body still. You don't notice the effect, you feel tired, but it's keeping you from really going into those deeper sleep states that are the most regenerative. So the general rule of thumb is that you want to avoid caffeinated beverages at least 4 hours, ideally 6 hours before bedtime. So again, goes back to number one, you want to know what your bedtime is so that you know what your cutoff time is for that afternoon cappuccino. Alcohol is also something we need to consider, how late we consume that in the day or in the evening. Last call should be 3 hours before bed, because just like food, alcohol raises your blood sugar and then drops it. It also gives us the illusion of feeling sleepy. So many people think, oh, well, this drink helps me to fall asleep. But unfortunately, as you metabolize it, then you're going to get that surging cortisol that's going to wake you up potentially. And this is more of a factor, or it's even more noticeable in women because women metabolize alcohol faster. So that glass of wine that's helping you unwind at the end of the night may actually be waking you up or taking you out of those more regenerative levels of sleep and making you sleep less deeply. So, as we said several times, sleep is important. It's not just important, but it's an opportunity. It's a tool for you to say, I'm going to take these 6 factors and I'm going to take a look and see where I can make improvements. Because even if I'm sleeping fine, I want to sleep great. I want to be the healthiest, happiest, most productive, most creative, best version of me possible. And that's what we want for you. And I want you to look at those 6 factors and say, yeah, I'm really attending to those things. And I have a handout with all of that information on it for you. Just contact the office and let us know you want us to email that or give it to you. And we'll give you that information if you didn't get all your notes. But I want you to look at those things and really ask yourself, am I really addressing that? Yeah, my bedroom is dark, but did you look? Did you look around? Did you see if any light's leaking in? Did you try sealing that up? Have you addressed these things thoroughly? Remember, it's like the ingredients for a cake. If they're not all there, we're not going to get the optimal result. If you've addressed all these things and you're still having trouble, I highly recommend this book, Sleep Smarter by Shawn Stevenson. And if you need that title again, just contact the office and we'll let you know. You can borrow our copy if you come into the office. But like we said, this is an opportunity for you to build your health. I don't want you to just coast. I don't want you to just be fine. I want you to keep building your health. And this is a golden opportunity to improve the quality of your sleep. And the healthier that we all are as individuals, the more vibrant, the more patient, the more loving and kind we are, the less in that primitive toddler brain that we are, the better and happier and healthier our whole community gets, our whole planet gets. And there's a lot of crazy going on. And we need more people who are healthy and well-adjusted and taking care of their bodies, and they're more at peace and they're more connected. When you have subluxations, you're disconnected. That leads to disconnection with others, dis-ease, disharmony. We need more people to be more connected. So my challenge to you is to reach out and talk to someone. Who do you know that hasn't ever had their spine checked? And urge them to see. Just get checked. They don't have to have chiropractic care, but they should just know. Do they have disconnections? Do they have subluxations? How healthy is their spine? So that is our ask, that you reach out and you hold another hand and help another person to get more healthy and more connected, because we have a lot of healing to do out there. And every one of us makes a difference. Just like every cell in a body, the more cells are healthy, the healthier the individual. So we've got to start inside and work our way out. And on that note, please make sure you let us know if you need the notes or you need any help. And we look forward to our next class next week.